So it's a couple of days after Thanksgiving and you've had your fill of turkey. And hubby thinks this rack is completely devoid of meat. So what do you do with it? For me, I'm making broth. So let's get to it. Hello friends and welcome back to my channel. I just want to thank all my old subscribers and welcome my new subscribers. So if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe and hit that notification bell to be notified when I upload videos. So today I am planning to get my turkey broth started. Now I do a two-step or a 2-day process, and I'll walk you through this as I go along, but I'm trying to get that done, and I have another canning project I also want to get done. So we're going to see how far I can get with these two projects I want to get done. I might try to do them simultaneously, or I might do one after the other, but we'll try to work it out and see what we have. So it's a couple of days after Thanksgiving, and we have eaten our way through a 20-pound turkey, and pretty much we are up to our eyeballs in enough turkey already. So I have my rack here, and I'm going to actually make my broth with it. So before, literally, I used to throw this away. Crazy, right? But there's some really good flavors that I could get out of this rack and make a broth with it. And from broth you can get all sorts of things, chilies and soups and just really great flavors. So I'm going to take my rack, my knack, all the drippings, everything that you see in this pan, and I'm actually going to put it in my big stock pot here. I'm going to put my bones in, everything, and then I'm going to get it done. So I scraped everything into my big stock pot here, and I'm just going to cover it with water. I'm just going to cover it until everything is, just add water to everything's covered, and it might float a little bit, but at this point it'll be okay. I'm not going to add any seasonings at this point because I already seasoned my turkey when I cooked it the first time, and all those drippings and everything also have seasonings in them. So I'm not going to season it at this point in time. I'm going to get this on a high heat till it comes to a full boil, and then I'm going to turn it down to a simmer for about 2 or 3 hours, depending on how it looks at the 2-hour sort of mark, and I will taste it at that point to see how it tastes. So this is a full rolling boil, and yes, it is boiling over. I tad bit too much water, but that's okay. And I'm going to turn it down to simmer at this point and just let it simmer away for those 2 to 3 hours. So now you can see it's sort of simmering. Actually, it's more than simmering, but you want to see the bubbles so it can agitate those bones and get all the goodness out of it. So I did let my broth go for a full 3 hours. What I'm going to do now is let it cool completely and then put it into my fridge overnight. So here it is the next day, and as you can see, it's formed a crust, and that's what I wanted to do so I can get all that, or pretty much all of the fat off of the broth. And I mean, there's several ways to do this, but this is the way I do it. So all I'm going to do is just take my spoon and scrape all that fat off the top. Now I won't throw this away. I'll use this to fry onions and mushrooms and stuff in, and I'll put it in my fridge because it's not purified. It does have the seasoning and stuff in it, so you want to use it probably about 2 to 3 days, or by the end of the week or within the week you want to use this up. So here is my broth now with pretty much all the fat taken off of it, and I'm going to just bring it to a simmer, and this is the fat that I got off, and I will put that in my fridge and use it, like I said, to fry up onions and meats and whatever, mushrooms and stuff. So a little tip, a little insider, secret: if your broth doesn't taste the way you want it, I use better than bouillon, and I have a couple of different ones here. There is sauteed onions, that's the one I'm using now. There is roasted garlic. There is a vegetable, and then there is a beef one that I have in my fridge pretty much all the time. And I will put some of this in my broth. So I have my jars here oven sanitized, and they're nice and warm to go with my warm broth. But I also have a little side project. I got some more milk and I want to can that up as well. So while I'm doing my broth in the small batch canner, I'll do my milk in my larger Presto canner at the same time. So now that my broth is brought to it's warm, you can't see it, but there is steam coming off of it. So what I'm going to do is just take my strainer over my measuring cup and just strain it out. So I'm not going to worry too much about the herbs and stuff. So I'm just going to ladle my broth into my warm jars from the oven. So this is the meat I was able to get off that rack that hubby thought was completely picked clean. And I have a little bit more broth in my pot. And there's some in my measuring cup. I say about 18 ounces or so. Not enough for another batch, but still I'll use it to cook with probably tonight or tomorrow. And now they're just going to go into my small batch canner, which only holds 4 jars at a time, or 4 pint jars at a time. And I'm going to process those while I get my other project going. I like this one because you just set it and forget it. You don't have to worry about venting and timing and all that. It does it for you. So while I'm doing that, I'm going to get my big batch Presto canner out, or filled up, with my milk project. So I cooled my jars because I don't want hot jars, cool milk, and a cold canner, or a cool canner, room temperature canner. I want everything about the same temp. So I'm going to get my water in here, and it is going to be at room temp, and then I'm going to get my milk in. One thing I did notice about this first jug of milk, it was kind of short, so I had to go back and sort of even out my jars of milk. So that's what I'm doing here. And then I'm just going to wipe my rims and just get it into my canner. And I am making sure I wipe my rims really cleanly with some vinegar. So onto my second layer, and into the canner it goes. So this is what I got from my stock pot of broth. I got 8 pints, and my milk that I canned up, and that was 19 pints from 2 gallons of milk. And I also got this, I think it's 24 ounces, I'm not exactly sure, of broth. You can see how thick it is. It will make a nice base for soups, chilies, whatever you want to put it in. And I got that, and I did use it tonight to make dinner, and I'll show you what I use for dinner. But this is basically what I got. I'm really happy with how the milk came out, and that will go into my cold storage. And so here's what I did for a quick dinner. I made a roux, and I used my leftover fat from my turkey broth, and here is what I have left of that. And I also used some of my turkey broth in my roux, so all of those seasonings are nice and in there already. I didn't have to add too much additional seasonings. And then I'm just going to add the meat that I took off of that rack, and it was about 3.5, almost 4 cups of meat. And then I'm just going to use some browning seasonings just to brown it up a little bit. And that's basically it. You can add veggies. I did a little bit of sauteed onions in here, and you can use whatever you have on hand. If you don't have turkey, if you have ham, whatever you have, you can do a quick little I call it, I don't know, gravy, whatever you want to call it. And you can put this over rice, mashed potatoes, pasta, whatever. I have mashed potatoes tonight. That's what I have in the pot in the back. And I'm just gonna, this took me all of 20 minutes, if that. And I think the peeling the potatoes were probably the hardest part of this meal. So quick, easy, and it tastes delicious. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe and hit that notification bell to be notified when I upload videos.